In today's episode of The Rig Doctor, we're going to be doing part one of a multi-part series of how we built the John Mayer Trio pedalboard part for part with a few modifications, not only to decrease size, but also to improve the overall tone and use a few extra modern amenities based on what's available today that wasn't available during the time of that particular rig build. If you'd like to enter the contest, the rules are very simple. All you need to do is subscribe to our YouTube channel, subscribe to our Instagram channel, and also make sure that you subscribe to our email newsletter, and you'll be automatically entered to win this rig. In the first episode today, we're going to be looking specifically at the types of cables that were used on the rig and how these were unique and were never repeated in any future John Mayer pedalboard rigs. These are the Pete Cornish cables, which is also a Belden 8412 mic cable that's wired directionally. We've modified these slightly to make them a little bit more pedalboard friendly, but in this video you're going to see the exact reasons why we made these choices and how it results in what we believe to be better tone, and also how it results in a smaller overall footprint for the pedalboard. Stay tuned. My name is Mason Marangella. I build rigs for the industry's top professionals. Now, I'm teaching guitarists how to build rigs like the pros, with DIY tips, easy mods, and all the tricks of the trade. I am the Rig Doctor. Howdy folks, Rig Doctor here, Uncle Mason. Today I'm really excited to bring to you a John Mayer Trio part-for-part clone pedalboard. As many of you know, we're giving away this rig. We're going to be featuring content on this all month long, and then we're going to culminate at the end of the month and announcing in June who the winner is of this amazing pedalboard. Now, throughout the month, we are going to release different parts of footage that detail the exact things that we did on the board, from the cabling to the pedalboard itself to the power supply we chose, and also all of the different tones that can be achieved with this rig, and matching those up with iconic songs that were actually played during the John Mayer Trio era. So I hope you enjoy. Let's get into it. Today we're going to be talking specifically about cables. One thing that is quintessential on the John Mayer rig that's not repeated in any of the other rigs that he's done is that it used Pete Cornish cables, and in particular the Belden 8412, which is what Pete put inside of his customized cables. So although we're not using Pete's cables themselves, I've recreated the exact same cables using the same types of Nutric ends that Pete would have used, in addition to color coding the directionality so that we have a twisted pair shielded cable with the shield tied to the ground on one side and then the shield cut away on the other side. Now, in and of themselves, these cables I wouldn't say sound outstanding, but one thing that I think that Pete Cornish knows well is how to integrate rigs, and where they may not sound good individually, in the context of the pedalboard, they sound amazing. It's actually surprising to me how great these sounded. When I tested the cables by themselves, they weren't overly toneful or musical, but as soon as I plugged it into the rig with an entire rig built with them and all of the buffering going on within this board, it sounded absolutely stellar, incredibly neutral, and extremely quiet. As quiet as any of the rigs that I've ever built. One cool thing about these cables is that they're twisted pair shielded, which means it's basically a mic cable that Pete Cornish has adapted to use for the purposes of guitar. And although the specs on it may not be the best specs in terms of capacitance or resistance for cables, they actually sound quite good. And essentially what he's doing is he's taking the mic cable, he's cutting away the shield on the side that goes into the input of any sort of amplifier or guitar pedal, and then he's taking the shield and tying it to the ground on any output. So that would be like coming out of the guitar or any output of the pedal. Now on John Mayer's pedalboard, he's got really long patch cables that are going in between each one of his pedals. And the reason for this, although I don't know for certain, but only anecdotally, is that the smallest patch cable that Pete Cornish was making at that time was 1 meter, or about 3 feet. And so because there was only 3-foot cables and they only had straight ends, that sort of dictated the minimum size of pedalboard that John Mayer needed. So he ended up having a lot larger board than he would actually need in reality, because he needed to make room for that loom where they'd be wrapping the cable together so that they could get those 3-foot cables in between each interconnection. And I've done away with that because I've assumed in a real life context that John probably didn't want to have these long cables going in between all the pedals if he could help it. So I've made them as small as possible. I'm using Nutric ends, but not straight ones. I'm using the right angle equivalents that would have been used on the Pete Cornish cable. And I've consolidated them to the minimum size, about 6 inches per patch cable, and then some of the longer ones are around a foot. Stay tuned for next week, where I'm going to be detailing about the power supply and why we moved away from the original Dunlop brick that was on the John Mayer Trio pedalboard and pivoted to a True Tone power supply. And I'll tell you the reasons why we did that and why I actually think it's an improvement. And please make sure that you register to win this amazing board. The directions are all in the description. It's very simple. You just need to follow us here on YouTube. You need to follow us on Instagram, and just be sure to sign up for our email list, and that takes care of everything that you need in order to be entered to win. And we're gonna pick one lucky winner in the first week of June who's gonna win this amazing rig. Thank you so much. I'm the Rig Doctor, Uncle Mason. Adios.